Sometimes when I record these episodes, I'm so excited. I mean, truly, I am so excited for this recording today, but sometimes I feel a little bit intimidated because I'm in the presence of like musical giants. These folks that I'm talking to, they are like the cream of the crop. Orchestrators, singers, worship leaders. These are people that I love to watch songs that come from Brooklyn Tab and just see the music pass along and look at all these minor ninths, flat fifths, diminished sevenths. It's just like flowing through. Amazing, inspiring. These are the people that make this music happen and that bring this level, this depth of musicianship into our churches. I'm excited for this. This is TaRanda Greene and Daniel Smith, both legends representing Brooklyn Tabernacle. Let's take this one. I'm looking forward to it. Here we go. See, you guys, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm so nervous just to be in your presence. I'm just like, I can't believe this. The depth, the music that you bring to the table has been so amazing, and I'm so glad to have this conversation. I'm a fan. There you go.
Well, we're honored to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Daniel, you're just a legend for sure of so many scores, so many arrangements, and the two of you, I mean, you're coming into this interview and you're talking like you must talk all the time, all day long, and then I'm the new kid on the block, so hopefully getting to know the two of you. Looking forward to that.
Delighted to be here.
Awesome. TaRanda, we have had an interview before, and I've been able to be at your church, actually at one of the previous recordings, which was such an incredible experience. I think it was the first one after COVID. Took a few years for Brooklyn Tab to kind of come back together, and seen you a few times since then. I think we may have crossed paths just in the hallway in Houston. Weren't you in Houston, Texas, a few months ago?
I think I was able to wave
just from a distance. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, I love working with you, all the folks from Stowtown, and it's so fun to see all this great music coming into the world of PraiseCharts, and we're able to make it available. So we're going to tell a few stories here, but before I do that, I just would like to share this as, like I was sharing in the intro, one of the reasons I got into PraiseCharts from the very beginning. I've always had this fascination with just music, notes on a page, and in particular, I love to listen to music and watch like a full orchestration and just watch it go by, measure after measure. And with your music in particular, Daniel, I mean, I know because you make so many of these arrangements, I am just like, this is a feeling that I have is there is, 3 chords to many songs, sometimes 6, but then there is music that goes into way beyond that. And it's just like music just emanates so effortlessly from your hands, the vocals, the melodies, the chords, the rich textures. I just love it. That's all I want to say is I'm in awe. I'm honored to represent this music, and it's such a wonderful gift to the church to be able to go a little deeper in music you bring. What do you think about that, Daniel? Just as you are aware of so much types of music that are around the church, but you bring something unique to the table, to the church.
Well, you flatter me, Ryan, really. But you bring up the church. I was raised in church. I'm a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
I grew up on the piano bench in church. I literally played my first song, He's All I Need, at age 3.
Wow.
And my mom had plopped me up, came home from something, and plopped me up to the piano bench beside her just to keep me from tearing the house to pieces when I was 3. And I started picking out the melody of the chorus we just sung on Sunday. He's all I need, Jesus is all I need. And she looked at me like, what are you doing, And I did. Shortly after that, I figured out how to put a chord together. I don't know how long it was. But my folks were poor preachers, and so I got a piano lesson whenever they could scrape up enough money for me to have a few lessons. You know, that's what it was. But I honestly believe the church is the best place for musicians to develop. I really believe
Yeah.
that. I know everybody path, but the great musicians. I mean, you look at the programs we have on today with American Idol and The Voice. You know how many of those kids started in church somewhere? You know how they got those chops? They had an opportunity, and church has afforded somebody, all of us who are musicians, an opportunity and a place to allow our gifting to grow. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the Lord Jesus and the body of Christ that have allowed me to experiment and grow and do what I've done. But the other thing I would have to say is, for whatever reason, you know, Scripture tells us that the Lord orders our steps aright, and
Yeah.
my steps came in contact with some really great people. In my very young adult years, I met Larry Goss. He was at Lefevre Sound in Atlanta, and I was traveling with a couple of brothers, and the three of us had a gospel trio, and we made our first record there, and I was in awe of the sound. Larry created a
Mm-hmm.
brand on the sound, and so and that developed, and we made a second record with him. This would have been long before you were born, probably, but it was a long time ago. But
Hmm.
Larry kind of took me under and was always gracious and kind um, until he was gone from this life. Anyway, he was one of my best encouragements, and so I kept getting opportunity that I did not deserve. I didn't deserve
Right.
it,
Right.
and I kept opportunity to be around some real world class talent. And at least I'm a quick study. You know, if you show me one time, and then okay, what's that chord? And then I figured out an. So I got the privilege of the church, and I got the privilege of being around some great people, and that's the whole story of how I've done anything
Yeah.
that I've done.
Well, truly, and now people are looking to you for that inspiration, and so we just keep passing it down the line. Teranda, could you tell me a little of like the culture in which you found yourself grown into or immersed in over the years? So you probably have a similar story of, you know, you growing up as a child and you're following after someone and they give you some opportunities and one thing leads to the next. Can you just unpack a little bit of that culture that you have found yourself immersed in?
Yeah, 100%. I can relate with Dan. The
Mm-hmm.
first recording I ever did, I was 23 months old, so not quite two. And my
Oh,
mom was at the piano, and I was singing the old Neelan song, "We Shall Wear a Robe and Crown." My mom was playing, and I was singing, and I have this recording on cassette. We know what cassettes are, right? Still to this
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
But similar to Dan, I grew up in church, and they stood me on a chair or a pulpit or piano bench, whatever, to sing, and that's my earliest childhood memories are singing in church. Most
Yeah.
of my friends are in the playground, and I was just at church singing. And so through the same way, you know, what's interesting is people ask me now, like, how do I get discovered, or what would you suggest that I do to get my name out there? I don't have a clue, because God just put me in rooms
Mm-hmm.
and meeting people, and it wasn't anything I strived to do or work to do. And even I'm 46 now, and I've been in this over half my life, and I'm still just like, I can't believe the rooms God puts me in. It's just
Mm-hmm.
incredible the way He opens doors.
Yes.
So much like Dan, it's just been a relationship through the years, and the Lord just dropping handfuls of blessing and purpose on my life.
Beautiful. Well, the music the two of you make together is truly inspiring. Daniel, did you want to say something, and then we'll just
well,
continue? Yeah.
yeah. I was just going to say. I mean, she's encouraging me. All these thoughts are going through my head. You know, Scripture says, "Whatever your hand findeth to do, do it with all your might." And so, I think that's what Taranda's done, and what I've done. I was around great people, worked hard. She's worked
Yeah.
hard, you
Yeah.
know, and worked to develop, what we had. But we just took the opportunity that was there at the moment. I did not set out to be an arranger or orchestrator. I was a minister of music at this church in Fort Worth. I was actually there for 45 years, and we didn't have enough money for choir music. And so if I didn't come up with something, our choir was going to have nothing. And so that's why I started. That's how I started arranging.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
So it was out of necessity, not out of an aspiration to do
Yeah,
anything,
become.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just out of necessity. And there was a guy by the name of Dan Burgess that was in
Yeah.
choral. He wrote the song "Press On," probably his best known song. He's in heaven now, also. But he was in our church at that time, and he walked up and he said, "Where did you get that arrangement?" Oh, it's just something I put together for our choir. You know, our little scraggly choir of 30,
Mm.
40 people. That ended up going to a large number later. But and a couple of weeks later, where'd you find that? And finally, and it was in 1985. He said, "You know, you've got enough of these. I think I want to do. We should put. It was with good applications. Let's put out a book." And so we did. And honestly, it was all of those arrangements were born out of necessity of working with a local church choir,
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
two
Mm.
people who maybe can sing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and make them sing with sing from your toes, everything you've got. I give them that look that says, "You sing or I'll kill you," and, and that was what I was kind of known for. And I made them sing,
Yeah.
and that's the book I ever did came from that, and then the rest of it just went from there.
Let's talk a little now about Brooklyn Tabernacle. That's a lot of the music that we're going to just look at today is new music and even some older songs that we're reharvesting and remaking available and pooling together. And I know, TaRanda, you guys have been working hard to bring the music of Brooklyn Tab available, to the people again. But they've been around for so long. I want to just get a little taste of what is so special, and I know something is very special about the music of Brooklyn Tabernacle. TaRanda, could you start? And then I'd love to hear from Daniel as well. But there's something unique about this church in New York that has a great impact on this world. What do you think that is?
I mean, first of all, they're completely honor God in everything that they do. Everything is met with prayer, from
Mm-hmm.
um, even the idea of doing an album or a song, to which songs, to the instrumentalists that play, to the producers, the singers, etc. Everything is met with prayer before anything's ever done. So I think that's a huge thing that they've done through the years that has caused the world to stand up and recognize. But also, I find it very interesting that Carol Cymbala doesn't read or write music. She just has this impeccable
Blows me
ear,
away.
and
Yes.
she just knows the sound she wants. She knows the chords she wants. She may not know what they're called, or she may just be
Yes.
able, and they could probably speak to this way better than I could, but she just hums a note and says, "No, this is what I want. No, not that.
Wow.
It's this note right here. What is that
Wow.
note?" And so, even coming from that point of view of having someone who is not necessarily trained in the theory of music, but just hearing from the Lord, and having this gifting on her life, this calling on her life, to just create music for the entire world. And it's
Yes.
not specific to Brooklyn. It's literally, it just transcends every generation,
Mm-hmm.
every genre. And there's something in there that you just feel from the minute the song starts. It makes your heart feel like you're at home.
Yeah.
And um, and it's just kind of inexplicable how at least for me, how when a Brooklyn Tab album starts, I just can breathe, because it's
Yes.
just, I know it's been
Yes.
prayed over. I know it's been
Oh, nice.
thought through. I know the labor that's gone into it, and as soon as it comes on, I'm like, okay, now we're
Beautiful.
back.
Yeah.
And so it definitely points you home, and the lyrics of the songs help you get through today as well.
Yeah.
And so from the beginning, even to this latest project, is all as an experience of helping us get home.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel, could you describe for me what's it like to work? Because you have the musical background, but you're working with someone who's just coming from a place of like feeling or hearing the notes, or they've prayed through. It's all the non-musical things, but then they have their hands on something, and it's like you're a translator translating that into. Describe to me a little bit of that process. I'm assuming, have you you sit down with Carol, or is it another producer is doing it? How does it actually make its way to the page?
Um, well, so many directions I could go with
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I get called in. I was in New York several times last year, and I get called in for what we would probably call pre-production meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this time, the great guitar player David Cleveland was brought in also for those meetings, and so we sit in Carol's office, and he's the guitar, and there'll be a keyboard player sitting there, and they begin to kind of show us the tunes, and she'll usually say, like the record we did in 22, she came in, she goes, I know what I want to do. I'm just having trouble putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
The brilliance of Carol is that she has these phenomenal, almost frightening musical instincts. She knows when it's right and she knows when it's wrong.
Yes.
When it's wrong, she needs you to fix it, and that's why she had somebody else tried, to fix it and to get it where she wants it. So when I got called in, she said, I don't know which pieces to put together. I don't know how to end it. I don't know this, and this. And so first of all, you go, oh Lord Jesus, if you don't help me here, I'm in I'm in big trouble. I have an idea,
Yeah.
and I hope I've got an answer. And as it turns out, usually it's not a difficult thing to fix at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sit there and we go through, and I record on my phone, the pieces as it comes together. And then we kind of talk about different ways this could happen. Usually Dave Cleveland is fabulous at coming up with a guitar hook or a motif that might establish the feel of a tune, particularly on this last album. And
Yeah.
and then so I'll have that. Then I go home and I began listening through my little uh, voice recorder on my iPhone. And okay, here's what we said we want to do. And I start formulating a chart from that. And then I go back with the chart, as I think it happened this last time. And then I take those charts and I would go to, I meet with the rhythm section for 2 or 3 days, and we just began to work out the arrangements from there. Nothing is, I formulate a chart, and they're fairly detailed according to what we know at that time, but they're always
Yeah.
flexible. Things
Yeah.
always have. Um, and so,
Hmm.
Brenda said something that reminded me. Carol has her own language that she communicates in,
Yeah.
and you be able to understand the language and what she probably means by that. For example,
Yeah.
she's, she's sitting not far away. Teranda's got her own stories on this. She's sitting not far away in the tabernacle from the area where the rhythm section is, and I'm kind of standing in front of them, and I'm always looking to my left to see is how's she feeling about that? Is that getting a thumbs up, or is like I don't know. And then when there's really concern, she gets up from her seat there in the sanctuary and walks over to me. My heart begins to pound a little bit, and she'll say, "You know that one chord right there? That one chord, okay? Like where?" And we'll define where it is. She said, "That chord it's too happy."
Right.
Or she'll say, "That's a sad chord. I don't want to. I don't want that. It just brings me down right there." That's how her instincts work, which
Mm-hmm.
I find phenomenal, and is a reminder to me that all of us as musicians approach music in our own way. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are readers, and they can not misread an interval or a rhythm on a chart, like session singers. Other people, you couldn't put a chart in front of them, and it would mean absolutely nothing, but they come up with this phenomenal thing that nobody
Yes.
else. So, when she'll say that, I'll say to the rhythm guy, "Okay, guys, we've got to change that chord right there. We have a bucket of sad chords that we could replace that happy chord with. Let's find her." The biggest thing is when you walk in, because I told someone in Carol when they called me in to co-produce in 22 and in 24, I said, honestly, I just want to help. I'm too old
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
to build it. If I can be a help to you, I understand the church. I understand, what you're ultimately trying to do here, and I'm on board, and I believe in you, and I want to be part of this. So, I'm not married to any chord. It may have
Yeah.
been the chord I've come up with all year. But if Carol didn't like it, it went,
Yeah.
and we find one that works for that. It's usually something simpler, and
Yeah.
something that get in the way. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how then it develops from there, and then she'll talk about do I want to orchestrate all of it, or do I want to farm some of it out to couple others? And we've done it both ways. It just kind of depends. And then we go to Nashville and record. I go home and I write all the orchestrations, and then we go to Nashville and record orchestra, cut rhythm
Yeah.
in Tabernacle,
Yeah.
orchestra in, and then it goes from there. I don't know if that
Yeah.
answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I just love all this stuff. I love poking in behind the scenes, and it's fun to see you, Teranda, just smiling away as you're listening, because you're kind of on the inside
I love your
all of
story
this. Yeah.
on how Jesus loves. Tell them that story.
Okay, tell us that
Yeah.
story.
Yes. Yes. So, yes, 100% what Dan is saying is correct. And the thing is, like, it can sound totally normal and fine to everyone, but Carol just hears it.
Yeah.
And then once it changes, you're like, oh, why didn't I hear that? You're right. It should have been like this.
Mm-hmm.
She's always right. Once it's done, it's like, oh, yeah, that's actually better. But we were getting ready to do How Jesus Loves, and she called me and asked me to do the solo on it. So she sends me the old version of it because it's a remake from like 30 years ago, I think, Dan, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I'm learning the song, and it's a very simple song. It's a very simple message. As a vocalist, you can't really overdo it because there's really nowhere to go. Like it just is what it is. It just lays there. So
Unless and you can take it into the heavens.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes.
yeah. So I'll rephrase. You can oversing it, but if
Yes.
you just
Yes.
go forward, it's fine. So
Yes.
she sends me the demo, and I have a little vocal booth at my house, and so I send her 8 different versions of the song, and we're going back and forth, and same kind of thing as Dan was saying. If she calls me when I send her something, then I know we've gone too far. So otherwise, it's a thumbs up on a message or try this with a voice text. But if she calls, I know I'm totally out of the pocket here. So she calls me, and we change a couple of things, and until the day I got there for rehearsal, which was it the day before the recording, Landon, that we did rehearsal? And no, it was the day of. It was the day of that I got in town to do rehearsal and sound check. Um, and I don't know what I'm doing because she hasn't given me a green light on anything that I've sent her of the 8 demos. And so she finally we go through the rehearsal, everything's fine. But what Dan's wanting me to say is, I had to call him because she said to me, Teranda, the first verse it's just it's a little dreamy. Was it right? Dreamy? It was dreamy or sleepy? Dreamy. And I said, a little dreamy. And she goes, yeah, it's just, if you could make it less dreamy. And I said, okay, hey, Dan, what does dreamy mean with Carol? If Carol says dreamy,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah.
But we literally got there the day of. She hasn't come in yet. Pastor Cymbala is by the sound booth, just, saying hello. And I'm running this song. I'm so nervous. And I'm just like, Lord, help me figure this out. Like, please send an angel to just sing this because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I see Pastor Cymbala on the phone, and he's calling Carol saying, yeah, you can come in. It's good. It's good. Come in. So she comes in, and she sits there, and she's like, it's perfect. Do it just like this. Did we record that? Did anybody get that on tape?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I did, but Lord, just
Mm-hmm.
help me remember it tonight. So until the day of the recording, I did not have a green light because she just hadn't felt it. She didn't hear what,
Yeah.
what moved her.
Yeah. Wow.
Ryan,
So,
talking too much. My wife is gone. If she was here, she'd say, Dan, shut up and let somebody else talk. But anyway, but when you're talking about Brooklyn and the distinctive that is Brooklyn, and
Yes.
this is probably not a fair way of saying it. There's probably a much more spiritual way of saying this. I believe Carol has single-handedly created a brand, a
Yeah.
worldwide brand. It's a sound.
Yeah.
As soon as that track starts, almost before the vocals come in, you know it's a Brooklyn Tab tune. And
Yes, you do.
it's tangible almost.
Yeah.
But the vocals have everything to do with it. And
Yeah.
because it so works in Carol's favor that she's not a musical technician, because she breaks all the rules.
Right.
All those of us who have
Yes.
been worked hard at trying to become a technician at choral music over the
Yeah.
years, and no parallel, fifths, and know this and know that. She doesn't know that. She didn't
Right.
get that. She breaks all of it. The chords that are used, the three notes, soprano, alto, tenor only. Those
Yeah.
poor guys, whether they're not, they sing high tenor notes, and those those chords may or may not have anything to do with the chords chosen for the rhythm section,
Right.
and somehow,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at that in my brain. I've spent a lifetime trying to figure all that out, making it all work technically, and I've had to, have my stuff approved by editors who were brutal on me,
Yeah.
and so, but somehow you put that all, bake it all in the mix of the cake, and this amazing thing happens. And I overstudied it to try to figure
Yeah.
out why does this, but she will choose notes that I wouldn't choose, but
Yeah.
like Teranda, she's right, and it creates this magical sort of thing.
Sure
I
does.
should use it, I'm sure, but it is that. But
Yeah.
it creates something that is just something that no one else can really replicate, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. Totally. You know what I hear from the
That's so
two
good.
of you is that as you approach working with someone like a Carol, you have to leave your egos at the door. I mean, both of you are giants in and of yourselves, just musically. I mean, let's be honest. But still, even you, you got to take your ego and put it aside and just let a person lead from the heart, from the spirit. That's clearly what Carol is doing, and you're recognizing that kind of gifting. And it takes a collective of people coming together to create a sound that's like this. I think it's so mesmerizing to even just contemplate that the beauty that I'm even asking about, it comes from someone who doesn't know that the rules exist and then is willing to break those. I think that's. Let's look at a little bit of the songs. The most recently there was this new collection called "I Will Not Be Moved." Now, all of these songs are kind of listed here. Miranda, maybe let's just start with "Come Jesus Come." I mean, some of these songs I think are not original. They are songs that the church worldwide is already singing, numerous recordings. These are worship songs that are coming through Brooklyn. Do you want to just bring us into some of these, and I'll open up the website. We can look at some of the music, but just tell me the meaning behind or the heart behind some of these arrangements.
Yeah. Dan, you wanna go, or you want
Yeah,
me to?
or Daniel.
Well, yeah,
You
come
can just
Jesus,
pick
come.
anything. Okay.
What? I'm just looking at the top.
Yep.
Stephen McWhirter was with us, and
Okay.
he just sets this song on fire, and
Hmm.
it's amazing, and the whole place just explodes, because the truth is the church goes through seasons where we get more focused on certain things, and it's expressed even in the lyrics of our songs. If you can let me just zoom out for a second. When I was younger, if you remember an old songwriter by the name of Ira Stanfill, he wrote "The Room at the Cross for You" and some other greats that we sang. He was a pastor in Fort Worth when I moved here in 1978, and he asked me to come and produce his. I produced his last album that he made. It was a simple thing we did here in Dallas. Sitting around with him one day, I was asking him about the music of that day as compared to his earlier day when he was writing. He said, for whatever reason, the church is not singing songs of consecration, and he was right. In that period of time, all the songs, they were either heaven songs or testimonial songs, or they were happy songs, hand clapping happy songs, like feel good songs. But we didn't have many songs in that era where we were really saying, Lord, I am yours to command. I'm all yours. Those were missing. And so I say that to say I could, we can go, we kind of swing in our themes and direction as a church. And I'm old enough to live through several seasons of
Mm-hmm.
things that have been in church. And as it's interesting that Stephen comes up with this song about the second coming of Christ and the yearning for the second coming of Christ, because it almost became a not cool thing to sing heaven songs for a
Mm-hmm.
long period of time. We all get to heaven, and the things that we used to sing that we don't sing as much anymore. And so what happened was we sort of departed from that theme and from that truth that Thessalonians gives us, that the Lord is coming again. And so he came out with this very powerful song, and not only is it lyrically strong, but the passion he particularly portrays and presents in the recording is pretty phenomenal. Tranda, your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand exactly what you're saying, and you're right. It became uncool to sing about heaven or about Christ's return because we got so focused on the here and now that we forgot what's waiting for us. And so
Mhm.
Stephen actually came to the church before this song became as wildly popular as it is now. He co-wrote this song with his wife, and he came. I think Susan, which is Carol's daughter, had heard this song and brought him into the church. And here comes this fully tatted, rough, cap wearing, I'm not going to dress up for anybody guy, just
Mm-hmm.
totally takes off his rocker, right? And he comes into Brooklyn Tab and takes it by storm because the power of God is on his life. And so the church starts singing this song, Come Jesus Come, and then of course it takes off, and CC has several versions now. The version that's actually on this recording is specific to Brooklyn Tabernacle's version. It
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been cut quite like this before. Um, and so I think, once again, Carol just knows what the church loves to hear. And so there were sections of it that she kind of moved around and whatever and created a specific version for this album with Stephen.
Yeah.
Um, so interesting for him to share his story beforehand. Of course, it's a live recording, and this guy can just blow. I mean, it's incredible. And then the church loves this song so much that, if I'm not mistaken, on the recording, you can just hear the congregation screaming this longing for Christ to
Mm.
come. So
Mm-hmm.
powerful thing on the recording. So we're so blessed and thankful that this made this album recording,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can have this particular version to download for yourself too. But that's one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites,
Yes.
they went back and did a song, an old Brooklyn Tab song called Forever We Will Sing. It's
Yes.
fantastic. Spirit Fall Down, Amy Hammerly, which she's the daughter of Jim and Joanne Hammerly. He's another musical genius, led Spirit Fall Down. The record is very cool because it's a collective of, like you said, worship songs that we're already familiar with, as well as Carol
Yes.
original. And another powerful moment of the night was when they sang No Other Name. And again, the church is familiar with this song. And so that you can just hear the church worshiping so powerfully,
Mm.
supporting. And all, again, even if it is a remake, it's an original Carol Cymbala
Yeah.
arrangement of this remake. So you're not going to hear this specific arrangement anywhere except through this recording.
Yeah. So great. So great.
That is the loudest singing congregation you will ever hear. And there's
Mm-hmm.
almost as much noise or volume of singing coming from the congregation as there is coming from the platform. I
Yeah.
mean, they all
Yeah.
know it. Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've always understood Carol sort of does some sort of puts together the songs in some form, maybe not the final form that's where they end up on the record, and kind of does a trial run before the congregation. She and Susan had told me they've done that. They sort of just they put it together to see if it blesses the people, and if the
Mhm.
people like it. There's an old adage in at least in gospel music, nobody likes it but the people. That's how you that's how you measure
Mm-hmm.
what a
Yeah.
hit is. All the suits in the publishing companies don't like it, but the people do, so it's a win.
Yeah.
But if the people love it, if the people respond, then that's often what one of the things that influences is Carol. I do have to correct you on one thing. Forever We Will Sing is not. It's a new song by Mark Condon.
You're right. You're right. I said that and I meant Spirit Fall Down. You're exactly right.
And
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Mark is one of my closest friends on the planet, and he watched this this program here and knew that I didn't correct that, I would get a phone call immediately. He and a team of young
Yeah. You know
songwriters.
what? He
And then
may
I
call
was
me
there,
as
and then
well
he
and give
said
me.
it to, and then I
Yes.
said it to Carol, and she happened to like it, But and so it
Yeah.
got on that way.
And
You
it's
have
gorgeous.
got to mention it. It's a beautiful song. It is a beautiful
It's all
song.
choir as well. So I know a lot of the people here are looking for things that are just choir without solos. And that one is all choir for you to work out. Again, most everything is soprano, alto, tenor.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing is what Praise Charts has done for this is allowed us to stem it out completely. So it's
Yep.
it's all the stems you could possibly. And Dan has worked so hard just making sure the stems are written properly and everything's translated well, so that it's simple
Mm-hmm.
for you to download, get exactly the parts that you want, as well as the choir parts from Brooklyn Tabernacle. And you're
Mm-hmm.
only going to get on these arrangements. And so
Yeah.
if you use a choir with your downloads, you're actually getting to sing with the Brooklyn Tabernacle, which is really cool.
I can't believe I'm pinching myself thinking that we can have all this music here. So great.
And we understand today, and Stowtown understands for sure that it's a different array of assets that we need to provide the church today than when I was
Yeah.
directing choir in my 20s. We were
Yeah.
lucky if we just had enough there. It's a different now. It's everything has to be digital. There's
Yeah.
digital
Mm-hmm.
formatting which you can provide. There's and the stems she's talking about. And yes, we myself and a team of guys have been copious in our details about making sure that the ink completely matches
Yeah.
exactly what the Brooklyn is saying. And this is an important point. We've gone in and added a bass part because not all men in your
Right.
church can sing
It's good.
G's and A flats all day long. They
Yes.
can't.
Yes.
So I went in and wrote, I think most of them, if not all of them, and then
Yeah.
we got someone to a real, true bass to record just those parts.
Yes.
So that is also, so it's not no longer do your bassists feel like they've got to quit the choir because you're doing a Brooklyn Tab song. All
Yeah.
of that is there.
Well, that actually happens
Yeah.
with lots of music when it goes to recording. Sometimes the bass note doesn't really add to the recording, but of course, all you bass singers, we add something to a church environment. That's definitely, a part that we want to have. So we end up doing that with a lot of our music as well, as adding that bass part for sure. Very good.
The Brooklyn Tab being known as a three-part choir that they've
Yeah.
done for decades. We're trying to help the church understand, church choirs understand. No, it's no longer limited to just that. We've written, hopefully, a very a tasty part. It's not just the melody and octave below. In some cases, it's that's true, but it's
Yeah.
an actual design base to work wonderfully well. We believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, before we close out this time together, can we just look ahead a few months? And this is also kind of looking back, but we just brought out something from, I think, 2010, this Brooklyn Tabernacle Christmas, where you're applying all this musical genius to, Now, Daniel, were you involved in this project? Yes, I can see. Definitely, I believe, see your name here.
Yeah.
But you're standing among so many giants. You got David Hamilton in here and Philip Kevrin. I mean, these are the orchestrators of all orchestrators that you're among. So I love it.
I know. Don't deserve to be there. I'm quick to say that. That I believe that was when I first began. I was certainly knew Cymbala as everybody did, and Carol was familiar with my work through a singer by the name of Damaris Carboff. I don't know if anybody remembers Damaris. She was a singer with Brooklyn, one of their early soloists, featured soloists. And Damaris was a friend of mine, and I used her on projects. And so that's how Carol became familiar. And I think that project, the 2010 Christmas one, was the first project, she brought me in as a contributing orchestrator. In those
Yes.
days, she had me 4, sometimes 5 orchestra. Oliver Wells, David Hamilton, Philip Cameron, Chris McDonald.
Yeah.
There would be 6 of us, and then we just knew when we were supposed to show up at the studio and conduct the orchestra. And I came in, did my 2 songs, and gave them a hug and left. And then I think about 3 other records after that. I was a contributing orchestrator, but maybe I would do 4 or 5, and then until so that's kind of how that happened. But yes, I was on that, and I've looked at those recently because we've also put all of those tunes and that full project through a refreshed
Yes.
digital situation, and that we just turned that in like last week.
Well, and
Yeah.
this week it's on Praise Charts. So there you go. That's how fast it goes. You know, you don't have to. It's all there. I mean, take TaRanda. Just I'm gonna poke into a song. You pick a song, and then just tell me a little bit about it, just to give us a taste into it, and then I'll go into it. But what stands out as you look at the list here?
Well,
Anything?
this was, I think, the second recording I had been a part of with Brooklyn Tab.
Yeah.
The other recording was New Jerusalem. I think this is the second one, and I did "Would It Still Be Christmas" is a beautiful song for your Christmas programs, as well as there's a duet called "The King Has Come"
Mm-hmm.
that Brad Hudson and I did. The, there's so many beautiful songs that are fully orchestrated.
Yeah.
Um, that are just stunning on this project. And again, with that Brooklyn Tabernacle song, upbeat and ballads, there's some um, kind of ethnical rhythm charts on some of the songs, just to, you know, it's
Yeah.
like I said before, she is the world with this stuff. So, The King Has Come is a great duet.
Mm.
Christmas Joy, it would involve your entire ensemble or cast, or however you do your Christmas programs. Um, and What Is It Be Christmas is a solo. Nicole Binion's on this record. There's a beautiful lullaby. I think it's called Mary's Song um,
Yes. Yep. Right
on
there. Yep.
there. Is that right?
Yep.
A
Yes.
beautiful lullaby that works so well with a manger scene for Christmas as well. It's very tender and beautiful. Um, and so this project really has a very round collection for a Christmas production, or even if you want to add drama to it, or if you just want to do the songs. It really is a well-rounded album for your church, any size church, because like we said, everything's here on Praise Charts, so you get what you
Mm-hmm.
need,
Mm-hmm.
and you supply the.
Beautiful. Last thing I just want to point to, just to, we're just pouring praises on Brooklyn Tabernacle, but you guys have really been working hard to dig deep into even the history and just sharpening up the resources. This is partly what's happening with you and your team behind you and at Praise Church. So as I look at the Brooklyn Tab page here, I mean, this used to be quite empty or sparse, or these are old charts that we had harvested and they were like scans of a fax of something or who knows what, but there's just so much here that has been just beautified, and the full resource has been made available. So a lot of these things I just kind of wanted to point out. This would kind of go back into even the deep history of the Brooklyn Tabernacle. I mean, this song, I don't know it in particular off my head, but I'm pretty sure this goes back into the depths of history of great stuff that's come out of Brooklyn Tab. Hey.
Yeah. That one was
Indeed, it does.
around 2008ish, seven,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
Isn't that the one
anyways,
Jason Crab was?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Jason Crabb did that solo. There's one called My Help, I think, that should be up.
My
If not,
help.
it'll be up very short. Mm-hmm.
All right.
That goes way back. The very cool thing, and Dan will speak to this more than I could, but my heart in this, what part of what was so exciting for me when I saw that Stowtown was trying to do this, is there are so many songs that maybe they haven't been forgotten, but they haven't been around in a long time, that
Yeah.
really do have that lyric depth and the beautiful chord progressions and melodies and harmonies. that is so needed in our services today.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried to go back and pull out just like the top 20 or the top 24. I think it was the first
Mm-hmm.
selection that you did, Dan. And I know my help was in there because I just recently did this with Bellevue Choir. And when I tell you, we went from gratitude, from gratitude to my help, and the move of God in that moment of just being so grateful and knowing who we call on in our time of need was powerful in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately led to a time of prayer and just gratefulness. And so the incredible thing that I have found as a singer and as an artist who travels and works with different churches is that it's not just at Brooklyn Tabernacle that these songs fit. Everywhere I go that we do one of these songs that's 30 years old or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, now it's so relevant to the church, and they are messages that we so desperately need to be singing. Um, and it's a joy for me to re-deliver these lyrics and
Mm-hmm.
re-deliver these moments that I wasn't a part of. They
Mm-hmm.
were out long before I was ever around. But it's an honor to be able to deliver these things as a singer, and just hold in such high regard what Carol has done for the music industry in general. It's crazy that something that was 30 years old is still just as relevant
Mm-hmm.
today and
Mm-hmm.
just as beautiful and just as well
Mm-hmm.
played. And it's been an incredible honor to sing these songs that you think, oh, my congregation won't like that because we do this or because this is who we are. But honestly, it's translating so well. And I just encourage you as a worship pastor, if you're watching this, to give it a try because these songs are timeless and they
So
bring
good.
about a desperation for God in your services that is
Yeah.
so needed.
Yeah. So beautiful. Well, thank you, Teranda and Dan. You've been a true inspiration and given us a real window into the inner workings of how all this music finds its way. And I think, especially in this day and age, I'm noticing this in praise charts that churches are not just looking for the latest and greatest song that was just written, 2 months ago. They're looking for the rich history of the great stuff that's been written even 40, 30 years ago. I mean, last year, one of the top songs in praise charts of the whole year was Because He Lives. That is not the latest song that was just written. It was a great arrangement that, and this is what we're looking for is the rich treasure and then the resources available. So, yeah, Daniel.
Oh, let me.
I would just
Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
go ahead, Tranda. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the difference with these charts is these are the original Brooklyn Tabernacle charts. So
Yes.
things have been and different things have happened, but these are the actual original notes written and things chosen by Carol and the staff throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes these particular releases special. Is they're exactly Brooklyn Tab. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Final thoughts.
what Stowtown did last August, I know I stood in front of an orchestra for 3 days in Nashville, and we re-recorded. If the original recording was not fit in some way or not sonically appropriate for today's market, we didn't change the note. We might maybe made a correction or two, but we recorded and remixed all of that. But it's still the same material and still the vocals of the
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn Tabernacle. But the point I wanted to make about, I'm seeing many churches across the country that are doing a fabulous job, and some people call it's blended worship, but finding some of the richness of the older things, and they don't have to forsake the contemporary new things that are there also, because the truth is it's all about finding what is the song of the heart of your
Mm-hmm.
congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And something will resonate with me. I was in a church the other day and they closed the service with, "We're marching to Zion,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, beautiful," in 50 years.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
It was a heart. Tears began flowing down my cheeks because when you tap into the song of the heart, and many
Yeah.
of those are the older songs, that have come along. Um, anyway, I think it's so important for any ministry music to have that awareness and sensitivity. You have a congregation that has a song of the heart. And discovering what that is and tapping into that is a critical part of the success of the worship experience for your fellowship.
Love it. Love it. So inspiring. Thank you so much, TaRanda and Dan. And go get all the music. Obviously, it's available in PraiseCharts, just like it was right at the Brooklyn Tab. And give our love to the Cymbalas. I hope they live for another 50 years. Somebody invent something to make life last longer.
Yes.
We need them around. And boy, we adore them. So thank you so much. This has been so fun, so inspiring. Bless you guys.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thanks for everything.